Video games were a huge part of my childhood. The PlayStation 1 is the console I remember playing the most. Even when I got the PlayStation 2, if I wasn't playing Burnout 3 or Ratchet & Clank, I was usually using its backwards compatibility function to play PlayStation 1 games. Now most of the games I have played growing up were all well-known games, stuff people actually played like Crash Bandicoot, Gran Turismo, Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 3, and so forth. But looking back, I also played a lot of games that people have forgotten about, or didn't even know existed. Which leads us up to today's game, Peak Performance. Although this game may not be well known in the West, it was very popular in the East, getting multiple sequels and selling over 1 million copies. I have a lot of nostalgia for this game, much like the other games I have reviewed, but this one stands out to me for being unique, weird, and interesting, all at the same time. Let's find out why. Peak Performance, also known as Toad Max, also known as the unofficial Initial D game until the official Initial D game came out, thus removing its name as the unofficial Initial D game, is a hill climb drift racing game set in the mountains in Tokyo, Japan, where you choose from various 90s Japanese cars and drive sideways. Not Ridge Racer sideways, because this game actually intends for you to drift. Going back to the name for a second, what the hell is a togue? Is it a tongue? Is it a toe? Sounds like some kind of fetish porn.
Toad Max Hill Climb Formula Game.
I'm gonna look this up on Google. Released on January 24th, 1997, Peak Performance was developed by Cave and published by Atlus. Atlus? Oh god, I bet they only published like 3 copies of this game. Meaning this game is probably getting or is already expensive. As for Cave Studios, unlike most game studios from the 90s, they're still making games today. Not all of their games make it over here, and are mostly local to their own country, but every now and then a game makes its way over to the West. Not a lot of information of Peak Performance is on the internet. Even old review articles are hard to come by. Hell, the Wikipedia article is shorter than the fight scene between Bumblebee and Optimus Prime in The Last Knight. The first thing you're met when you start this game is the title screen, and some really dank beats. From here you have a choice. 1P and 2P is your basic racing with AI, time trial is you versus the clock, tune, we will discuss this later, replay. Looking back on it, this is kind of a pointless feature. I've noticed that nobody really watches their replay unless they win, and because of that you're a narcissist. Option. There's only one? Not options? They lied to me! And the final option being the course editor. But for now let's choose 1P. The background greets you with a free seizure.
Isn't this that cartoon that causes seizures? Wow!
No, but in all honesty, this menu and color design is god-awful. Like, instant headache awful. I don't know any other game that could top this. Oh. Well, it can't get much worse than that. Okay, it's actually quite tame compared to those two games. But that's like comparing a wet fart to anal leakage. Both of them are not great or welcome, but if I had the choice, I'd be choosing the latter. Next step after you have consumed a whole bottle of Advil is to choose your car and track. Each car is heavily based off a licensed car, like the Mazda RX-7, Toyota Supra, and the Nissan Skyline. Speaking of Skylines, there is so many of them! Like 1/3 of the car selection is Skylines. I didn't know that I was playing Gran Turismo. Interesting fact, in the Japanese version of the game, they actually put abbreviations of the car it's based off of in real life. In this version, we just get numbers. Stupid numbers. Each car has a variety of colors you can choose from, and if that's not enough for you, you can tune them to make your own version. Haha, I told you I'd bring this back up. In the tune menu, you can customize any car you want and make it to your own standard. Rims can be swapped out, tire pressure can be adjusted, same for suspension, transmission type, gear ratios, and your blow-off valve. All that does is just makes a noise. In real life, it prevents this. Once you have picked your car, you're now ready to select a track. Compared to the car roster, the track list is pretty weak. The 3 tracks they give you though are pretty good and aesthetically pleasing. You can choose the time setting and a different variation of the course. Once you're bored of racing on the same track over and over, I don't know why you would be, you can make your own. And this sucks! Spending time in this game mode is extremely boring and more of a novelty than anything. Controlling the vehicle is a nightmare. This is the worst part of the game hands down. Much like a lot of the other PlayStation 1 games we talk about, control seems to be the primary issue. I would easily say that it's because of the age of the game and we're used to better and more responsive games. But I just can't play this game. Look at the gameplay you're seeing right now. Notice how I'm hitting almost every single wall? That's because the car likes to turn extremely sharp with the slightest touch of the D-pad, and when I try to recover it, my car decides it wants to go the other way. It doesn't help that the car is in a constant drift. Like I said, the tracks are really good, but don't work well with the game mechanics. If you're playing this game for the first time, make sure to tune your car to have more traction. Actually, this tip is for everybody, just do it, it'll save you a lot of heartache. The sound design in this game is not good at all. Everything sounds like it was recorded in a corridor or a cave. It just has so much reverb to it. Why? And the blow-off valve thingy. Why does it sound like an old man snoring? Honest to God, when I was a kid, I legitimately tried to find this guy. I thought it was some kind of Easter egg or something. Does that sound far-fetched? Yes or no? If you said yes, you're completely fucking wrong, mate. PP, that's what I'm calling the game in an abbreviation form, has some of the strangest Easter eggs and secrets I have ever seen in a racing game or a video game to date. While playing this, I only managed to find 3 of them, but I think once you see them, that should be enough. The first one is pretty interesting and easy to find. While racing on the Uptown driveway track, you will find what looks like a mud puddle. Drive towards it and you'll be taken down to an old mine shaft. The interesting part is that you end up in some guy's garage, and it's not a shortcut because it doesn't aid you in any way whatsoever. The other 2 involve clipping through a wall. Head to the mansion on the right side of the road and wedge your car in between the gates, then move the car around as you accelerate. You should just clip right through. Although those things seem normal at first, go behind the house and drive on the lake. Then head for the pillar of the bridge. You're greeted with a whole bunch of red text. I don't know what this says, but I'm assuming it might be an Easter egg from the developers. Now for the final one. This is just plain weird. Go to the Northern Country track. This is also the same track as the last one that we talked about. You will see what appears to be a dam, a bridge, and one lone house. This one takes a lot more patience, but it's still possible. Basically, do the same thing as the previous one. Once you make it through, make a left on the grass. You will see what appears to be an electric cow and a couple watching it burn. Is this some kind of sacrifice, perhaps? I looked up online, and much like everything else about this game, I can't find anything. This has to be the weirdest thing I've seen in a video game to date. The soundtrack in the game is actually really good. Not too in your face, but also keeping it upbeat enough that it keeps up with the game. But while listening to it, I noticed it kind of sounds like it would be in one of the old Sonic games. Here, have a listen. The graphics are really nice. The cars respectfully represent their real-life counterparts while having somewhat of a cartoony vibe to them. Tracks also share this same characteristic. There's so many little details in the game that shows the developers had a passion for this game, like hideaway headlights popping up in the dark, the ability to turn on your four-ways, honking your horn, and so forth. Also, it's neat to mention, in the Japanese version of this game there's so much more content, including a story mode and some really cool vintage advertisements about tuner cars. This game does have its flaws, like bad sound design, poor controls, and questionable menu designs. I can see a lot of love went into this game, but in the end, gameplay is a vital component in a game, especially one where you're required to make quick decisions. And for that reason, I give Peak Performance a 46 out of 100. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, shameless plug in here for you to follow my channel and watch everything I ever made over and over again so I can get some ad revenue. Thank you.